All right, so one of the most important things before we even start trying to mix is we want to make sure we are operating and using high quality VSTs and high quality sounds because that is less work for us when we go to mix. All right, so usually the first thing I do when I mix is I send everything to the mixer to its own individual channel. As you can see, I have a 808 bus, I have a FX bus, I have a percussion bus, and I have an instrument bus. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to hear how the beat sound while it's not mixed, and then we're going to go and do the mixing process. Doesn't sound bad. Doesn't sound too bad. Okay, so the second thing you want to do when you go to mix is you want to start leveling. Leveling is very important. The level of your drums, the level of your instruments, the level of your percussion, it really sets the tone on how your beat is going to sound at the end. So what we're going to start doing is leveling our instruments. So we're going to mute all the percussion. All the percussion and all the FX will be muted right now. And then we are going to segment this off so that we can just hear the instruments. Okay, so it doesn't sound too bad. There's a couple frequencies that I do want to cut. And I often start with the most annoying sound. So let's mute this out. No, that's not. The strings sound good. Here it is, the Electra X right here. Alright, so for this channel, I have halftime on it, and I have a flanger on it, or flanger, however people pronounce it. So I always, when I'm mixing, I always start off with EQ. Also, you can utilize this equalizer right here at the bottom. I always utilize that as well. So we're going to listen to this and see what frequencies we don't like and what frequencies we would like to cut. So when I EQ my instruments, I always eliminate the frequency where the vocals will lay. So this frequency right in here, I always cut it. And then, you know what? It's never a crime to sweep and play around and see what sounds good. And then we are going to cut most of the low end off. We're just going to cut that because these are some of the frequencies we don't really need. And to me, that sounds great. So with my instruments on the master, I want it to hit at least 12. And we're there. So I'm not going to level that too much because it's already where it needs to be. All right, so we're going to work on the next sound, and it's the piano. All right, so the piano doesn't sound too bad. I did some tweaking in the actual VST, so I really didn't need to do too much, but I will throw an EQ on this, and then we are going to drop some of the frequencies where the vocals will be again. And I think that sounds good as it is, and we're probably gonna turn it down just a little bit. Alright, now we are going to touch on the secondary augmented streams. So what I like to do sometimes for an instrument to stand out is I like to put a little bit of stereo on it. A little or a lot. I want to see how it sounds with a little first. Yeah, so about halfway sounds really good to me. And I am going to grab another EQ and we're going to play with this EQ. But first, we are going to eliminate the frequencies where the vocals would be. Now we are going to touch on the main strings. Alright, so this parametric EQ that I use for the first strings that we mixed, I'm just gonna what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy this over because I like this preset that I use for the strings. So we're just gonna copy this same preset over, and then what we are going to do is slightly pan it. Alright, so in this parametric EQ, we cut a lot of the lows out. I'm going to add a little bit more lows, and then I'm going to add highs on the equalizer just slightly, just so it's a little different from the first string that we did. Alright, that sounds good to me. So now let's start gradually adding some of our percussion in, and we are going to do our 808s last. Everything sounds pretty good to me. Leveling is very important. Once again, leveling is very important with your percussion. So let's hear it one more time and see what needs to be turned up or down. I think the hi-hats can use a boost. Also, I think the hi-hats could use a little bit of the low end taken out of it. So we're going to take a little bit of the low end out of the hi-hats, just so it blends well with the entire beat. Alright, we're pretty good with the percussion. Okay, so in my percussion bus, let's turn that on. Let's turn the percussion bus on. And in my percussion bus, I turn it to mono. I put all my percussion in mono. And then what we're going to do with our percussion bus is we are going to add some EQ. And we're going to see where we can sweep and hear different frequencies and where we like our percussion. That's all for the percussion. Alright, so now we're going to work on the FX sounds. Alright, that sounds pretty good. So for my FX, I'm actually going to slightly, just slightly, put it in mono. And then for my FX bus, I have reverb on it. And then I used Flux Finisher. Yeah, you hear that reverb? So the reverb, I like how it has a long tail on it. If you don't like how it has a long tail on it, you can always add automation, but I'm not going to add automation because I like the tail. All right, so now we are going to mess with this 808. So now that we hear everything with the 808, I hear one more flaw. The hi-hat is slightly too loud. So we're gonna lower that. Alright, to me, the 808 sounds great. There is a frequency that I really do not care for in the 808, but I think it works for this beat, so I'm going to keep it in there. For my 808s, I usually add nothing, EQ, nothing. I usually buy kits with high quality drum sounds, so I don't have to do anything to them. Sometimes I do send them to a bus, and for this particular beat, I sent it to a bus because I feel like it just hits harder. I sent it to a bus and then I put it in mono. That sounds good to me. Alright, so we're going to take it from the top and we're going to hear this mix. And we're going to see what we could eliminate and what we could add. That's hard. Alright, so honestly, I didn't hear anything that I feel like I want to change. But sometimes, you know, I'll have a beat made and I'll mix it and then I'll come back and listen to it another day. And then I'll hear something that I would like to change or a frequency that I would like to boost or cut. So it's not always your final mix that day. It is not always your final mix that day. It could be a week from now, it could be a month from now, you hear the beat and you're like, oh, let me change something. But yeah, for now, I feel like this is solid. This sounds good to me. So a couple things I want to touch on before I chop the video. So for my master track, I use an EQ. I don't always use Soft Clipper. It depends. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But for this particular beat, I use Soft Clipper. And then I do another EQ for the bottom. If you're not following me on Instagram, follow me at IamCobana.